The launch of Spooler could rethink news podcasting. The latest from Podnews.net with the Podcast Show, the new international festival for podcasting in London this May. A new podcast platform, Spooler, has launched. It's founded by a who's who of podcasting, including James O. Boggs, Andy Bowers, Dan Benjamin and Kerry Donahue. The product claims to be a modular content management system for audio. It allows instant edits and reordering of content while being compatible with RSS podcast apps. We link to more information from Axios today. The first show using Spooler is this one.
Welcome to the Refresh from Insider. I'm Rebecca Ibarra.
And I'm Dave Smith. Bringing you real-time news, fresh like live radio, but on your schedule like podcasts.
Yes, the Refresh from Insider is rebuilt whenever you listen using dynamic audio insertion, which enables the show to be updated every minute if needed. It's worthwhile listening on their website to understand how it's been put together, or use the chapter feature in your podcast app to skip stories. And perhaps that explains the release of Apple Podcasts' guide to using chapters last month. Spooler's founder, James O. Boggs, used to be head of podcasting at Apple. With ARN's iHeart Podcast Network Australia, Magellan AI has launched a new regular report showing the top podcast advertisers in the country. You can subscribe in a link in our show notes and our newsletter today. The report for quarter 4 21 shows Amazon at number 1, with the highest Australian brand Binge, a video streaming service, at number 4. Spotify has announced the latest edition of Sound Up for the UK and Ireland, and globally the company has highlighted the diverse voices enabled by their Sound Up programme. Podcasts are best to help listeners concentrate on the ads they hear, according to new research on media attentiveness and ad skipping from Cumulus Media and Westwood One. Amy Woods, Content 10X founder, will be at Digital City Festival in Manchester in the UK on March the 9th and 10th. Amy will be speaking on day 2 and Content 10X is sponsoring and exhibiting. Brooklyn Magazine has 5 takeaways from On Air Fest, if you missed that. Isotope RX now supports Apple Silicon. Good news, it's 60% faster for your fancy effects. Bad news, it's a paid upgrade. Remote recording tool Riverside FM has had a patent claim from competitor OpenReel dismissed. We link to the judge's decision in full in our show notes and our newsletter today. OpenReel can amend its claim until mid-March, however, and if successful, you can probably guess other similar services will be next. The New Yorker has published a number of articles on the proliferation of the podcast in their Sunday reading section, including an interview with Melvin Bragg and a question about whether we can imagine a world without Spotify. You'll find that linked from our show notes and our newsletter. It's the 1st of March, so time for some monthly stats. And the Podnews ranker, which measures who we talk about, says, surprise, that Joe Rogan and Spotify are both number 1 in February. Rob Greenlee was the highest climber, up from number 460 to number 14. Congratulations, Rob, it must be the beard. And Jeff Ostroff is the highest new person in at number 16. Our gender balance was 39% female last month. And Libsyn's AdvertiseCast reports that the average cost per thousand for podcast ads in its marketplace is up 6.3% year-on-year. February's figure fell slightly from January's record high, though, to $23.61. And in podcast news, diversifying is new from CNN. Host Delianne Barros, a money expert, also known as Delianne, the money coach on TikTok and Instagram, talks about how to make money work for you, especially if you're black or brown, a woman or single. Expect new episodes every Monday. Hitherto unavailable in your podcast app, but available on your smart speaker, CNN Breaking News Alerts is new and drops news stories as they happen into your podcast app. It's quite a good use of podcast tech. Updates are very short and of most use if you sort your podcast app by latest episode. CBC's new podcast, Let's Make a Sci-Fi, is an 8-part adventure through the creative process as 3 comedians try writing a successful sci-fi plot with help from scientific experts and Hollywood screenwriting pros. That launched today. Back in the 1980s, TV and films promised us everything from jetpacks to flying cars and holidays in space. So, where's my jetpack? Space journalist and author Sarah Cruddas and broadcaster Luke Moore are taking a look at some of those crazy inventions to discover if they're actually just around the corner. It's new today from Stack. Ukrainecast is a new podcast from the BBC trying to make sense of the current conflict. And CNN, them again, have launched a special open-ended season of Tug of War, using their reporters to offer us historical, political and social context for the Russia and Ukraine conflict. New episodes drop Sunday and Wednesday. This podcast is brought to you by The Podcast Show, the new international festival for podcasting in London this May. A 2-day business event for podcasting has speakers like the CEO of Wondery, Jen Sargent, the CEO of Acast, Ross Adams, and Steph Simon from Clubhouse. And all week, you can see your favourite podcasts recorded on stage. Tickets and more information are at thepodcastshowlondon.com. And that's the latest from our newsletter. To read all the stories in full and subscribe, we're at podnews.net.